proper 12 whiskey, more like a proper Russian beatdown.
Mike,
Oswego
no.
Sports Update
Tap.
starts now.
Tap.
He's tapping.
You better tap.
Roll it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. I'm your host, James Gattato, joined by the boys. We got Bo Drake Deese on my right, Mike Morano on my left.
What's going on?
Bo?
How we doing? Tonight on OSU, the first press conference was held for the men's and women's ice hockey team to preview their seasons.
And for this week's Talk of the Town, we're hitting the blackjack tables and hitting Sin City with Vegas, baby.
Going to be rolling the dice with some of these hot takes, but let's get right into it. The Oswego men's and women's hockey teams both hit the podiums today to talk about the new season up ahead. The men were 18-6-2 last year, but had a disappointing end to the season, losing both games in their whiteout weekend and not even winning their conference tournament, actually losing in the semifinal. On the women's side, the girls exceeded expectations, although they had one game under 500 on the record. They were heading to the final of the SUNYAC tournament, and they took a tough loss to a very good Plattsburgh side. Boys, I'm excited for the season. I don't know about you, but what are the expectations for the Lakers going into the year?
Well, I have to say, this is kind of like the most wonderful time of the year feeling. We're ramping up for Oswego hockey.
Christmas in October.
Of course it is. But I really think that, at least for the Lady Lakers, it comes down to capitalizing on opportunities. 796 opportunities at the goal post this year, only capitalizing on 62 of those. I'm thinking that's kind of a season low for them, and they can definitely do better. There's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of power play opportunities for them to score, but it's just going to be a matter of them finishing.
Yeah, so that I was saying too, that one thing they probably should capitalize too is the assists. They only had 96 assists last year. They got to keep that puck going. They got to make plays for themselves. They got to work more like a team, and when they do that, they're going to, then you got more shots on net with the team play,
Exactly.
and then, the more shots you take, the more goals you can score.
Exactly. Eventually they're all going to go in.
And I think it's very important to know that they play in a very tough conference. SUNYAC on the men's and women's side, not an easy conference to play in whatsoever.
Definitely not.
And Plattsburgh, they went to that SUNYAC tournament. They were up, they had a 7-8-1 conference record. So I mean, it was very interesting to see them going up against the number 2 seed Buff State, and then they ended up beating Buff State, and then they went all the way to Plattsburgh, and then they lost. That Plattsburgh team was so good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't fault them at all. It's going to be really interesting to see how they look going into the season. I mean, the preseason starts about a week and a half from now, so I'm really excited to see.
That is insane.
I know.
How are we at this point already?
I'm very excited. I mean, we're 6 weeks into school already?
Something like
Already,
And
somehow.
I mean, before we know it, we're going to blink in this whiteout weekend.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for
And
that.
I mean, on the men's side of the puck.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think that this year is going to be a very interesting year for them, because I think there was so much anticipation of how well they were going to do in the postseason going into last year, and it just didn't pan out.
No.
And it's not because of them, I think it's because there were injuries, and, there's fatigue, and I would chalk it all up to that, to be honest. I really don't see it more than that.
Yeah, I like that you said interesting, because they had high hopes last year. I know one thing they have to do is finish. You have to prepare for the unexpected. That's just what you do. When you have that high of expectations, something can go wrong drastically fast. So endurance, you got to keep it up.
100%.
They're a great team. Keep up the goals, keep up the shots. Then they'll be ready for whiteout weekend.
And a lot of their contributions came from older and upperclassmen players. So I mean, you had Mitch Herlihy, Gillespie, who honestly was a sophomore last year, so he's going to be a junior this year. He's going to be massive for them. He had 10 goals, 14 assists, 24 points on the year, and he had 116 shots. So the shots are going to fall, and the shots are going to come for the Lakers. I mean, when you had great goalkeeping play from Richer for the entire season, that was the one thing that you couldn't fault the Lakers on.
No. Never once a game did I look at the goaltending and say, goalie's fault. Because a lot of people want to jump to a conclusion and say that it is a goalie's fault, just because of the goalie. But goaltending was honestly very solid all year. There was never a game where Richer seemed off, or he seemed like he just wasn't getting to the pads or anything. He seemed very on it.
And I think that the biggest thing that we caught in the games last year, especially when they slowed down in the last third of the season, let's say, because they looked awful in the whiteout weekend.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And
Well,
it
that game against Plattsburgh, they got shut out, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so
Got shut out.
disappointing to watch. I mean, who else did they play? They played Plattsburgh and they played
Oh, we played
it escapes me.
Oneonta.
Let me-
I think we played Oneonta in
Potsdam.
that.
Potsdam.
Oh, Potsdam. Yeah.
And we didn't do. And Potsdam wasn't that great. They were
Yeah, no, we beat them earlier in the season pretty solidly. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that score was 4-1.
2 1-0 losses though in the whiteout weekend.
Yeah.
And it was just
you can't even ask better for your goalie.
well,
No, you
and
can't.
or the defense. I mean, if
Yeah.
you let in
Yeah.
one goal in a hockey game, that's a really good
Yeah.
game for
Yeah.
your defense.
It's all offensive criticism at this point, you know, and whether that's going to be pieces that they're adding this year or just different offensive strategies, I think they're going to be able to pull off something really special this year.
And I
got that feeling.
And I think from last time too, the penalties killed them.
Yeah,
I think,
oh
I
my
think
gosh.
I think the penalties killed them. You can't knock
Scrappy
the defense.
team last year.
Yeah.
You can't say anything about that. We had Cam Barry, fighting everybody who skated in front of him. It didn't matter who it was. But I would agree. Definitely got to keep those penalties down. Less power play opportunities for the opposing teams.
And I mean, like you said, Canberra had the injury and everything like
Yeah.
that. And now they're going to be looking for guys to really step it up on offense because they were just after they beat Brockport 4-1 and then they went into the whiteout weekend. It was just so slow for them on the offensive end. They only scored 1 goal against SUNY Fredonia, and they were the number 5 seed going into the SUNYAC
They
tournament.
went blank.
It was basically the SUNYAC powerhouses were them and Geneseo.
Yeah.
And Geneseo ended up killing Fredonia in that final game.
And we killed both those teams during the regular season twice.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited to watch it. In this week's sports preview, we're headed to the Laker turf tomorrow as the field hockey team is taking on Hartwick at 4, a very strong Hartwick team at that. And on Saturday, it's senior day. They go up so fast.
Come on, it's gonna be okay, man. It's
Hold
gonna
the
be all right.
tissues, moms and dads, because we got some class on grass when the women's soccer team takes on Geneseo at 1 p.m. Boys, what are we excited for the 2 games?
Well, first, they're riding a 4-game losing streak. And you know how many goals they score in that 4-game losing streak? Zip.
Yeah.
You gotta rely on Katie
Maybe
Reynolds.
the tears are flowing. I don't know.
The tears are flowing. Katie Reynolds needs to have another big scoring outbreak if they want to, get back on pace.
I think that first of all, I'm calling the field hockey game tomorrow, play-by-play. So if you want to tune in to WTOP 10,
Are you really plugging yourself?
shameless
plug it
plug.
in.
Plugging
I'm
yourself
doing
on a show that
play-by-play
you're on.
for the field hockey
Just
game
slipping
tomorrow.
that in
Wow.
there.
But the field hockey team didn't look too bad. They played a really solid Hartwick team Nazareth team. My apologies. Last time they played Nazareth, and they really couldn't get anything going in the offensive third just because Nazareth as a whole was such a solid team. But I'm really looking forward to their matchup against Hartwick. I think it's going to be a really solid game, and for the soccer, I mean, I'm not really expecting much, but I think they could pull out a win.
I think it boils down to the same thing we talked about last time, and the same thing we've been talking about. It seems to be a trend with the Lakers: shots on goal.
Keep
Because
pressure.
they're gonna go in eventually, but they just haven't been so far. But you just got to keep putting them out.
Space in the lanes and getting crosses in, getting shots on frame, stuff like that. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans out. But when we come back from the commercial break, we're headed to Vegas, baby, for this week's Talk of the Town to debate about what went down at the biggest fight in UFC history. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Conor McGregor. We'll run you through the entire 229 main card after the break. Don't go anywhere. You are watching OSU.
I'm gonna come back there.
Don't do it.
My name is Gina Iliev. I am the Health Equity Coalition's coordinator at Planned Parenthood here in Central and Western New York. I'm also Executive Masters in Public Administration here at the Maxwell School, Syracuse University. In the last couple years, you've seen a number of movements, and I'm sure you've seen all the hashtags that go along with it. I think it's really important to talk about what those hashtags mean, what And then once we garner that power through those media avenues, how do we really activate people on the ground and in real life? I'm really looking forward to learning from the other panelists who what they do. I work for a local nonprofit, and some of the other panelists are from very big corporations. And I'm really interested in how they navigate those spaces. What do those connections look like?
And welcome back to OSU. Elvis Presley would be very proud of the three of us right now. Viva Las Vegas. It will be our feature city this week, so let's not waste any time, gentlemen. UFC 229 occurred this past Saturday, and we had a stacked, very stacked card. Except for Sean O'Malley. Rest in peace, Sean O'Malley, for not fighting John Jones. Little bit of a snitch.
But we want John back, right?
Oh yeah, we want John back.
Yeah.
We want John back.
Oh yeah, I'll pay money to see John Jones fight Brock.
But regardless if we had Sean O'Malley or not, some would still call this event the biggest UFC fight ever, or maybe even the biggest combat sporting event ever. What were your favorite parts of this week's card? Actually, you know what? Let's just run through the whole card.
The whole card?
Bottom to top, main card. Let's run through it.
Oh my
Starting with Michelle Waterson versus Felice Herrig.
Okay, so first off, we got the number 8 women's strawweight versus the number 9 strawweight. Michelle Waterson, a.k.a. the Karate Hottie.
Karate Hottie.
What a great nickname.
Gotta love it.
Started off.
Good.
She already won the fight.
Love to see it.
But she actually did win the fight. She dominated Felice on the feet and in the clinch, and it was really just an easy fight the whole way, completely taking her out at the legs, at the head, head kicks, body kicks, just all of it. And that is no small feat against Felice Herrig. She is one of the strongest women in that division.
Yeah,
she is more ripped than some of those light heavyweight guys, and they're pulling, boys.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real here. So, it was an easy, unanimous decision for the judges to make.
So where do you think this puts Waterson in terms of the rankings in the division? I mean, she is the number 8 fighter.
She is the number 8
and it's not
fighter.
like she was beating a top 5 fighter.
You can't put her in the title.
To answer your question, she's not ready to compete with Nunez. Okay, she's not at the top of the standings yet.
Yeah, that's Chris Cyborg.
Okay,
but they're both freaks.
Yeah, no,
freaks in nature.
But I would not be surprised in the slightest if this puts her top 5 in the standings. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, she's beating the number 9 and she's the number 8, but it was a convincing victory, even though it wasn't a knockout.
Say it was a knockout. Do you think she puts top 3 now?
Well, it depends on when the knockout occurred.
I don't know. That's tough for me, and I think that division isn't as strong as it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think that with Nunez possibly moving up to fight Cyborg, because she could definitely pack weight on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So seeing, or I don't think Cyborg can cut. First of all, I think Cyborg's on steroids. So
you gotta look
she
at her.
honestly might be.
Nunez. I mean, Nunez is the girl that. I mean, Holly Holm is a tough fighter.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't say tough.
A solid concrete chin.
I guess.
And Ronda Rousey was no joke until we had the Ronda Rousey meme and everything like that.
Until Holly Holm came.
And then, Amanda Nunes made light work of
That's when
Ronda
the
Rousey,
division started crumbling.
Yeah, exactly.
It went from Rousey to Holm to Nunez.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think
Everybody
it would surprise
got
me. I don't think it would surprise me if Nunes moves up to fight Cyborg now and actually wins the belt. It wouldn't surprise me if Waterson also just kind of shoots up the rankings a little bit.
And I would say if Nunez goes up to fight Cyborg, that creates an interesting situation in the division because it leaves room for building, and new women to make their mark in the division that really deserves more credit than it's been given.
Because right now
these
you got
women
Cyborg
fight
and you got
so
Nunez.
hard. Honestly, the more entertaining fights a lot of times I feel like that are on the card are the women's fights. I just wanted to say that. I just had to get that out there.
Speaking of entertaining fights, Derek Lewis versus Alexander Volkov.
Look at you with the transition.
I'm just saying. Alexander Volkov.
Now here's a guy.
Alexander Volkov. This is the guy here.
Yeah.
Literally dominating the whole fight. We got 133 strikes. 121 of those strikes were significant. And then Derek Lewis in the final round comes literally out of nowhere.
Not out of nowhere. Trump called him.
Trump called
and
him.
said, make light work.
Mike, who's on the phone?
Mr. Trump called him and said, "Make light work of this Russian."
I'm just saying that if
That is a direct quote from
That's
him,
a
by the way.
direct quote from Derek Lewis, apparently.
we can't repeat what Derek Lewis said on the air because the pay-per-view is uncensored, so we cannot repeat what he said to Joe Rogan
But please go watch it.
But
Please watch
if
it.
you're of age, please go watch that interview. It is absolutely
Look at this man, the
hysterical.
Black Beast. Look at him go.
He is literally Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Killed it. I mean, he was getting outperformed, and then he had that
Deep
one-punch
tired.
knockout power.
All we have to do is look at the strike totals. Okay, Lewis threw 70 punches in the entire fight.
Landed 40.
Volkov landed 171. He outthrew him by 101 punches.
He didn't land 70 punches. He threw 71.
Threw 71
and
punches.
only landed 40.
That's insane.
The whole fight.
And one of those 40 was the only one that he needed.
Well, here's the thing.
That was his
and-
last gust of wind. If he misses that, the fight's over.
He put all the torque that he could
Yeah.
muster in any area of his body into that one right hook that just came
And that was
over
it, and that was it.
shut him off.
Well, here's the reason why when the promoters and the UFC were making that Derek Lewis-Francis Ngannou fight a couple cards back, that they were really looking for that spectacle. They were looking for that one-punch knockout power because Francis Ngannou, when he's on his game, and he was fighting Stipe for the heavyweight belt, he has that one-punch knockout power. He's probably the best, hardest-hitting heavyweight ever, like in the
Yeah.
heavyweight division.
I would
you know,
agree.
and I don't think you can even talk about it. I mean, Derek Lewis is the same type of dude, and they both gas wicked easily. So I think that we were expecting a slugfest, and we didn't get it. Good bounce-back fight for Lewis, but
Yeah.
he was acting like he was controlling the fight the whole time.
Oh my! Okay, but can you blame Lewis? He knocked him out clean.
Okay,
If I'm Lewis,
I want to say
I'm
right now,
I'm
I want to see
telling
Volkov
everybody
fight again. I want to see Volkov fight somebody else. He's not done because he performed so well up to that point, and he definitely hurt Lewis in the first round.
He hurt him in the first round, and speaking of hurting people and basically knocking them out, Oven St. Preux fights.
Look at him go.
Oven St. Preux fighting Dominic Reyes in the co-main, and Oven St. Preux just basically got outclassed that whole fight. Dominic Reyes, an up-and-comer, 9-0 on the light heavyweight scene. Very impressive to watch, and at the very end of the fight, at the third round, when he was just dominating in every single aspect, he dropped Oven St. Preux and turned the lights out, said, "Good night, I'll talk to you in the morning," and he got saved by the referee. I think that was a knockout, but it ended up being a unanimous decision for Reyes.
I would 100% call that a knockout. You know, I was watching that fight, and after he went down, you know, that's one of those when you're playing UFC 2 and you knock your buddy out at the horn.
Yeah,
but they don't
literally.
call it because it's the end
Yeah.
of the fight. So I would chalk it straight up to that. That was a knockout. You know, whether they want to officially score it as that or not, that's what it was.
You could say the same about the next fight to go to with Ferguson and Pettis. We'll get to that though. You can say the same thing.
We can get to it now.
We
if
can
You
get
wanna
to
get to it right now?
Am I doing the transition tonight?
Yeah, you
Please
can
do.
if you
I guess
want.
I'll
That
do
was
the
smooth.
transition.
Fight-
Now we're going to Ferguson Pettis now.
Fight
Ferguson.
of the night.
100%.
Fight of the night.
100%.
Yeah, without question. I mean, just two of the most creative and prolific strikers to ever fight in the UFC, going at it, two pace setters. I mean, guys, what a fight. Honestly, what a
What a
fight.
crazy fight.
Weird. They're just both really weird, unorthodox fighters. I mean, they're both fighters that are great on the feet and guys that can submit you.
Can we look at that blood?
Oh my goodness!
Oh.
And look at the fight on the feet when Pettis cracked Ferguson. Ferguson was literally pressing Pettis the
Oh, yeah.
entire
First
fight,
round.
and he was setting the tempo, and then Pettis backing up just cracks him, and then Ferguson, when he was backing up, does a spinning elbow, and he cracks Pettis' head open.
Yeah, what even was that?
It's Tony Ferguson.
Also-
El Cucuy.
I know it didn't land, but Anthony Pettis threw a cartwheel kick.
He tried that a couple
in that.
times.
He tried that a couple times. He also tried a spinning back heel kick, which I
We're
haven't
way
seen.
too creative with this.
I don't know, but
I mean, and now this puts Ferguson in place for a title shot, and the title shot
Against
is
who?
probably going to be against Habib
Vacant.
Nurmagomedov because vacant maybe we'll have to see.
Vacant?
It
but
could definitely
right
be
now,
vacant.
Right now it's Habib Nurmagomedov because he beat Conor McGregor in a fourth round neck crank submission.
Yeah.
I mean, thoughts on that fight?
it was exactly what people who understand
UFC.
what Khabib is and what Conor is, and even the UFC in general. It was exactly what we anticipated it to be. It was 1-1. It was either Conor was going to dominate on the feet, or it was Khabib was going to take over on the ground.
But
that
he
was the
didn't
whole
even,
thing.
But he didn't even get the chance to dominate on the feet because not only did Habib out-wrestle Conor, I mean, Conor only had 18 seconds of control on the mat compared to Khabib's 12 minutes and 17
But you can't-
seconds.
but-
But Khabib not only out-wrestled Conor, he outboxed Conor.
I don't disagree.
You go from
But-
fighting Floyd Money Mayweather
The best boxer of all time
to Khabib.
a novice boxer.
But
And
the
I don't
wrestling
understand
though,
that.
don't compare the control times because we knew that no matter what it was, if it went to the ground at any point in the fight, except for the fact if Conor had cracked him and dropped him, that he would just be railing on him.
Okay, but
that would be his control time, and that's it.
Are we surprised that Habib won? That guy wrestled bears. There's
Dagestani
videos of
bears.
him
Dagestani
wrestling
bears.
bears.
Are we surprised that he won?
A little bit.
Either way, either one of those outcomes, I don't know if they're surprising because you could see either one of them winning
Nah.
in either way the fight went.
I mean, the further and the further the fight got, you could just tell that Conor was just kind of getting
gassed. He was getting
getting.
gassed.
Well,
big time.
I think that the gas tank on Conor was the best that we've ever seen. I mean, the fact that Khabib was just taking him down and tiring him out, like when each round started on the feet, McGregor looked fresh as a daisy, you
Yeah.
know. But it was the fact that Khabib just kept taking him down and down and down, and that's how he finishes his opponents. And credit to Ali Akinta because McGregor just made Ali Akinta look like a god.
Yeah, true.
You know, and he's
Is
he
Al
was-
up for the belt? Is that what's going on?
Not yet. I mean, it's got to be Tony, or it's either like
no, it's
Mike
just-
said, vacated.
vacated. He's gonna have to. I mean, that's all LA. I mean, it's Las Vegas' decision.
It's the Athletic Commission
Yeah.
of Nevada that is completely their decision. We're gonna let Bo talk about that in his final take a little bit more, but I think it was a little bit of a disappointing fight. I think that McGregor needed a bit of a tune-up before
Yeah.
that
Just
big of a
didn't,
fight.
he didn't look
I would
motivated.
have loved to see him fight a Pettis or Ferguson before this.
I think
I
that
agree
I
with
think
that.
Tony Ferguson and Anthony Pettis is still a really dangerous fight for him.
I think it's a dangerous fight, but I think
Well, if
it's
he loses to Pettis or-
stylistically it makes more sense
if
for
he
him.
loses to Pettis or Ferguson, we know he's not ready for Habib.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It should be very interesting to see
Yeah.
what happens in the lightweight division. This was an absolute stir-up after the fight. The fight after the fight.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we come back, we talked about one fight. Now, let's talk about the fight that made the $64.99 pay-per-view worth every penny. Stay tuned. You're watching OSU.
Hey, bud. Hey,
What?
what are you doing October 17th at 2 p.m.?
I don't know. What are you guys doing?
Funny you should ask because we're actually watching the Media Summit Red Carpet Show at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, October 17th on WTOP 10.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
My family and friends are always with me, no matter where I may be. Sharing stories from home helps me sustain my recovery from my mental and substance use disorder. Join the Voices for Recovery, our families, our stories, our recovery.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This week, we have talked about the fights, what happened in the octagon, where the fight is supposed to take place. See, I sat there on Saturday night and watched a dominant performance by the greatest mixed martial arts wrestler the world has ever seen. Was I on the edge of my seat? No. But no one ever is watching Khabib fight because we know exactly what that fight is. A potential 25-minute wait to hear Bruce Buffer tell you, and still, whether it be Ali Akinta or Conor McGregor. After Conor was submitted in the fourth round, Khabib threw his mouthpiece at Conor's corner and hopped the cage to attack his jiu-jitsu trainer. Of course, a brawl ensued that left Conor rocked and most of Khabib's camp in jail. At face value, you can take this as nothing more than overflown tempers and emotion. The issue is that there is so much more at stake here, a legacy and an image. The legacy is Khabib's. A fighter who is 27-0 should be looked upon with respect and fear. A fighter who has been able to talk the talk and walk the walk in and out of the ring. But after this fight, how can you look at him with anything but disdain? Here we have what we thought to be the most level-headed fighter in the UFC, taking it upon himself to listen to a schmuck talking smack on the sidelines. A champion of the sport broke down and gave his attention to a nobody. He was afforded an opportunity to win twice that day. The first was to beat the Notorious. The second was to show that no matter how much someone may bother you or you may have hate towards them, you can respect a competitor at the end of the day. Khabib in his post-fight was asked, why aren't we looking at what Conor did 5 months ago in Brooklyn? Khabib, I am here to tell you, it's because you are the champion. You are supposed to behave like a champion, lose like a champion, and yeah, win like a champion, like you did. Will he fight in the UFC again? Well, that's up to Dana White and the Nevada State Athletic Commission. But Khabib, if it was up to me, you'd be getting pretty comfy in Russia right now. But I talked about an image. How the UFC is perceived to the world. That's the image. Dana White made it very clear from day one of the UFC. This ain't no WWE, kids. When we have people jumping out of the cages and causing brawls in the crowd, then the fighters getting tag teamed by corners in the cage, and just friends in the crowd coming in and fighting, we are headed in the wrong direction. None of this is to diminish the status of Khabib as the wrestling GOAT in the UFC. But I can't help but look down on him a little bit because of this. It's one of those things that you will have to think about when you talk about an athlete that seems to hold him back, like LeBron and Michael in terms of rings. In the end, it was a great fight, but a skid mark on Khabib and the UFC. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in next week as we move to the city that never sleeps for the talk of the town, the Big Apple. Have a good night, and see you next Monday. I mean, I'm just saying, that's the only...
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
I wouldn't use this one.
He helps me with my decision making.
Never.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
And then she was like, yeah. And I was like, no. And then she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Ryan just texted me.
Oh my God, what did he say?
Netflix and chill?
Netflix and chill, that's like so last year. It's all about WTOP movies on demand and chill.
You are so right.
What's wrong?
Yo, bro. My girl left me, bro.
But why?
Because I don't watch WTOP 10 movies on demand.